Roll call. I'll just
Craig,
say
hang
the
on.
names. Oh, wait for a second.
Yeah, hang on. Just
Yeah, no problem.
Just give me 1 second. It's setting it up for YouTube.
This chair I'm on is something else. Okay, so roll call. I'll just.
Craig?
I'm not saying anything. I just heard that too, but it wasn't me.
Interesting.
It's like it recorded me.
Okay, we're good to go.
All right. So roll call. We have Anna Kirshner, Kevin Dickey, Nicole Clemens, Sharmalee Reddy of the city, and Craig Grabo. First thing on the agenda is the approval of the last meeting's minutes. Can I get somebody to motion for the approval of those minutes?
I make a motion to approve.
Second?
I'll second.
Great. Okay, so just a review of the 2020 Arbor Day giveaway. So thanks to Anna and Nicole and Stacy, we were able to move that up with fear of that things may shut down even further. So what they did was organize basically a drive-through tree giveaway as soon as all of our trees were delivered. They bagged them, maintained a safe distance and like our driveway and stuff with gloves on and masks the whole time. And then we set up at Fort Mitchell Baptist and handed out trees, all separated. The residents weren't able to get out of their cars until we were at a safe distance. They would pop their trunk, we'd go up, toss the trees in, they'd get out and then close the trunk. So it went off without a hitch. I think that there was only maybe like 40 trees left. If that, Anna, can you confirm? It was
That sounds
very
about
few.
right. Yeah,
it was very few
we
trees.
gave away a lot. It was surprising.
Yeah, Adam,
And this was the most trees that we've ever given away. So it was 800 trees total this year. And next year we'll probably end up doing 1,000. And that was without handing them out to the kindergartners, which would have accounted for at least 200 trees.
Correct.
Great.
So it went really great, went really smooth. People were super excited that we were still able to do that, you know, and able to go home and plant a tree and be outside and all that sort of fun stuff. So it was pretty excellent.
Last time I checked, I saw that there was one picture. Was there any more? Did anybody see? One picture
I don't know.
posted online? Did anybody
Stacy,
post any more pictures?
since you're not here, was there anybody else that posted?
I didn't look after like a couple days after.
Okay, so one picture, but one's better than none.
That's right.
We did get a lot of positive feedback about it. So really good
Okay,
job,
good.
you guys. Really good.
Yeah, and it was totally safe. And I mean, it was really nice. And the people were pretty stoked about it. So that was good. So moving on, there was another thing that I wanted to, I'll think of it later. So on to the big item of the day. Oh, no. I wanted to recap with everybody. As a result, we did get our the final inspections for the first phase of the Dixie Highway project. Sorry, I know it's not on the agenda, but I did want to bring it up. Jenny is meeting with Evans Landscaping, who did the first phase last year between like from Greenbrier down to Woodlawn. And then they did some on Sunnymead. And actually, we got some bonus plantings on Bryce Avenue as well. So they're reviewing those right now. I think that this week they're supposed to meet again because they wanted to give another week because there's a couple red buds that were on the brink of whether they were alive or they're dead. So they wanted to give them another week, see if there's any life in them, if they were going to push out any flowers or anything like that. And if there's not, they're going to replace any dead trees. We know that there's one, but there's possibly two more. They're going to remove the gator bags, I believe, because I think those are theirs for their watering duties over the past year. And then they'll also be removing the anchor systems around the trunks of the trees so that there's no girdling and things like that coming up. So, so Jenny Gullick of Urban Canopy Works is going to be meeting with them again this week, and that should be finalized. And then phase one is done. And now we get to move on to phase two. So I don't know. I know that I sent out the proposals, but we haven't had a meeting for a while, you know, with everything kind of going on and all that sort of fun stuff. So I'll just at least give like a brief overview of where we've been at since our last meeting. So since our last meeting, We contacted Urban Canopy Works, Jenny and Rachel. They went through and actually did another full tree inventory of what we have currently, as well as what was newly planted and things like that, just so that we could get a little bit more on ground inventories and stuff like that, because things have been lost since we did the master plan and stuff like that. So they went through, they did all of those things, kind of didn't remap it or anything, but just made smaller maps so that they have things on hand. Then we started to pinpoint the areas. So the areas that we put together are going to be from Woodlawn down to Beechwood, and then across Beechwood to Sunoco, the area where the new Dixie Highway, Dixie Highway got widened. So that area is slated for, there's going to be 3 Washington hawthorns, and I believe 1 other tree, maybe not, or 2 to 3 Washington hawthorns that are going to be removed right there. One's going to remain on the corner of Dixie Highway and Woodlawn, and that's so that we can anchor either side of the street with kind of mature trees until we're a little further down the phases, stuff like that. But so that stretch there will get new plantings. And then we're also going to be doing on the back side of Bryce. So right when you turn on to Birdsall, starting at Birdsall and Bryce, there's 2 trees that are going to be removed. And basically we're going to get a row of plantings that go all the way down to the new plantings that were done in phase 2. That makes sense.
Did you say there were new trees going in from Sunoco to Beechwood as well?
Exactly. Yep. So that whole stretch.
Yeah. Is that where, are we putting in the larger, the shade trees there? Or were
I
those-
don't believe so. Duke's
Going with-
pretty.
I know
stringent.
that's kind of the only location where we had any real opportunity to.
I
but-
know. I think that it was more medium-sized trees.
Yeah.
I can't. I'd have to pull up the RFP, and I can't say off the top of my head what
Yeah, that's fine.
she had kind of proposed in the RFP or whatnot. But I know there's some medium-sized trees, mainly small trees. I mean, really, we're kind of in that small tree
Yeah,
range, just to
right.
be consistent and stuff.
Yep.
But some nice trees. I know that there's lilac trees, there's maple trees, there are, I think, some more red buds. It's a decent mix of like 5 to 6 trees. Actually, no, they're on the proposals too. So that's where it's at as far as, what went out for RFP and what didn't and stuff like that. So Jenny kind of managed that whole thing. And then we were able to get the bids out. They were responded to electronically. And we ended up getting 3 bidders, which I forwarded to everybody, and we'll discuss those. But I did want to go ahead and pull up one of the bids just so I could confirm some of those trees real quick. Not exactly where they're being planted, but just the mix of them. So there's Amur Macchia. Then there was some dogwoods. There's maples. There's also serviceberry and lilac trees. So pretty decent mix of trees in a kind of a tighter space and stuff like that. So that'll be good.
Can I clarify, because I'm typing as you're talking?
Yeah.
Yeah, just so I'm understanding, you said some of the trees will remain, or what?
Yeah, so
or
the
what-
only
two-
tree that, go ahead.
Sorry, 3 of the Washington hawthorns will be removed. 1 will remain to anchor. Is that what you said?
Yeah, to anchor the corner of Woodlawn and Dixie, because if you go to the opposite side of Woodlawn and Dixie, where we had that last phase, we left those kind of anchor trees when you're entering onto a street, so that it wasn't, when you're turning onto the street, it kind of anchors either side until we get a little further down the phases.
Gotcha. So the 3 that will be removed, are those between Woodlawn and Dixie, or Woodlawn and Beechwood, or after Beechwood to Sunoco?
Woodlawn and Beechwood.
Okay.
There's basically a group of Washington hawthorns right, like from Beechwood or from Woodlawn to Beechwood, and they're right there close to Woodlawn. Other than that, it's all bare.
Right. Okay. Just wanted to double check. Thank you.
And it is a total of 10, 20, 28 trees in these spots that are getting planted. So it's quite a bit of trees. So is everybody good with kind of where we're at as far as, where the RFP, how it was kind of put together, where we're planting, things like that? So that went out for bid and we got 3 responses. So I'm going to we already sent the RFPs to you guys. Hopefully you had a chance to kind of take a look at them and stuff like that, familiarize yourself. Sharma Lee is going to start. And then I'll follow up with kind of some follow-up I did as far as with references and things like that to the bidders.
Yeah, so I kind of wanted to mention the one bid that we received from Evans Landscaping, which was sort of in the middle. And we've kind of discussed this issue before the last time a bid was awarded, but at the time, the case was still ongoing with the company and its owner. And so that case was actually settled in January of this year. And I'm just going to read what's directly on the U.S. Attorney's website, just a little snippet about the issue. The owner of Evans Landscaping, Inc. was sentenced in U.S. District Court today, which was January 7, 2020, to 21 months in prison for defrauding the city of Cincinnati and other public entities through fraudulent small business contracts. So, we've kind of do have some concerns about doing business with the company. And so I just wanted to kind of express those concerns to you all as a board.
So there's the portion with Evans, as far as, kind of the legal issues. We also we heard from quite a few residents last time when we did select them. I will say the work they did for the city, it was all on time. The work was done very well. It was done to the spec that we requested, and they adhered to every single thing. And as far as the success of the trees is concerned, I mean, I think we had close to 40 trees that were planted and to only have 2 or 3 that are struggling is a pretty good success rate. So from city of Fort Mitchell standpoint, as far as the last project that we had, our working relationship with Evans went very well. But with that said, we have to keep in mind that, it might not be the best thing moving forward for that, relationship to maintain, just as a result of, how things happened with the city of Cincinnati, how things happened with other contracts that they had obtained and gotten in trouble.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that looking at the bid results, we do have some other options. It's close enough that we can make some other decisions. And we always say this to any of our boards and committees: we're not bound to go by the lowest bid. We have to go with the best bid and the contractor that will work with the city the best and meet some of the general requirements that we have. So the other bids are somewhat comparable and pretty close. So, I just wanted to bring this up.
And the other thing, just regarding, as far as like last time when we did select Evans, it was so drastic and they met all the criteria. So if you guys remember last time, they were basically half the price and they still met all the criteria as far as being able to provide a certified arborist on site when any removals were being done and things of that nature. They were able to provide basically, a level of professionalism that we request within our RFP. And when they were able to meet those requirements, it's kind of hard for us to not give that option and stuff like that. This time we have 3 bids that are a lot closer in line. And if it's okay with everybody, I'll go ahead and I'll go to the next one that is kind of standout, but we're probably going to have to put to the side and not be able to bid on. And so if you guys are okay, I'll go ahead and I'll move on to the bids. Okay, so I'll start with the first one. Bear with me. There we go. I'm just going to work from the compiled bidders. Okay. So the first one was Evans Landscaping. They came in at $16,500 for this phase of the RFP. We've already kind of discussed, Evans as a whole and things like that. So I won't stick around with that. There was Daly's Lawn and Landscaping. They came in at $11,550. I did start to look at them because I had never really, I've never had any experience with them. Jenny had never had any experience with them or anything like that. They did have references, but they didn't have any other documentation regarding like certified arborist requirements and things of that nature. So I went ahead, tried to find a website. I couldn't find a website anywhere. So then I went ahead and tried to call on the contact that was on the RFP. When I called, it basically answered and then it was hung up on. So I didn't ever get a chance to actually talk with the, either owner or manager, whoever that contact was. So then I went ahead and I started to call on the references. The first reference that I called, nobody answered. I went ahead and I went to the third reference, which was another city. I tried to contact the cities first, as opposed to, builders that they had worked with, just because it's a little bit more in line. The one that I contacted, the city that I contacted, I spoke with the gentleman that was the direct reference and contact in the city. And he informed me that Daly's is not allowed to bid any work for that particular city for the next 3 years. I didn't ask him for any details. He told me if I wanted details, then I needed to call the procurement office. And then I just kind of asked him, do you think that they may have certified arborist on staff? And he said, to my knowledge, they do not. So with those things, I think that we maybe push that to the side for them to be $11,550 and to be able to do that coming all the way from almost up by Dayton. And then to have that feedback, I don't know if it's the best fit for us.
Craig, I was looking at their unit cost, and Evans and Davies' unit cost for the trees were, in $500, $525 range. They were pretty typical. Those are the ranges that we would typically see as well in receiving bids. Whereas that Daly's were $325. So I'd be a little concerned as, are they meeting our size requirements? Where are the trees coming from? Just to be, to have a $200 difference in unit cost seems a little concerning, especially at the smaller quantities. If it were a large hundreds of trees, you could afford to do that, but 25 trees, it seems very questionable to have that large of a discrepancy in their unit cost and to what quality of tree we would actually receive at that unit cost. Or they're just buying the tree and eating it on the installation, but I find that hard to believe as well.
Yeah. I totally agree. Does anybody else have any thoughts on Daly's?
Sounds worrisome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think
that
the lack of responsiveness is concerning as well. If they're not even going to respond and answer phones or provide valid references, I don't think that's something that we want to be managing as a city.
yeah, it's a valid reference. It's just that reference said that they can't bid for them any longer. So I guess
Well,
Yeah.
that's as
that
good
alone,
a
yeah.
feedback as you want if you're going to find out something that's not good. So I'll move on to Davy. Davy came in at 18,500. I think the majority of us know who Davy Tree is. It's one of the largest in the world, and they're out of Ohio. That's where the headquarters are. When it comes to trees, Davy's pretty tops. Not necessarily. They're just. They do a ton of tree research. They just do a lot of things when it comes to trees. So, feeling good about as far as like a contractor working with our trees, providing the things that we're requesting as far as certified arborist on staff when removals and things like that are being tended to, quality of tree and stuff like that. They have a lot of experience with that.
What's our budget? What?
We cut it at 20,000
Okay, so
because we set aside a certain amount for Arbor Day, for the Edenderry project, and then some slush or whatever, so that if we have another project come up or anything like that.
so they're under budget as well.
Exactly.
So yeah. Okay.
So everything's under budget between the two qualified bidders that are kind of available now. Evans and Davy. I mean, they're within $2,000. So it's less than 10%, maybe. No, yeah, it's just a little over 10%. And I mean, with the concerns with Evans and stuff, I think that's at minimum, we don't have such a gap like we did last time where it's
Yeah.
$20,000.
Right, 2000, I'll just throw out, I understand the city's concern and the perception of Evans. As a landscape architect, Evans is probably one of the primary landscape architects that are on all of our projects, the larger projects right now. And I can't say anything bad about them. They're very responsive. Their plant quality is great. The material, their workmanship, they're all, very high quality. I can't speak, on their business end of things, but they are doing work for Green Township. They're doing a very large development up in Blue Ash and a couple other projects that have passed through our office. But for $2,000 savings, it may not be worth the headache and the phone calls that the city might be receiving as, to why did we select Evans and their current business reputation. So.
Well, and I think also, I mean, last time there was such a discrepancy that it would have been negligent of us to not at minimum work with them. And plus the sentencing hadn't happened at that point. At that point, we really didn't know total details as far as how things were structured and how things were going to get settled and stuff like that. Now we have a verdict. And I think since my personal opinion, before we take a vote, I think that now that we have, more light has been shed on it and stuff like that, and the bids are just so close, the qualifications as far as, Davy meets all the qualifications where in the past, some of our bidders didn't even meet the qualifications and the gap was giant. I think that we had a little bit more that we had to kind of give Evans a try, where this one, it's more that we can probably feel a little bit more comfortable going with Davy, that the work's going to be done, appropriately. And we're also not at such a risk of not saving the city the amount of money that they stood to save last time.
Mhm.
Anna, any thoughts? Nicole, any thoughts? No? Everybody's good? Okay.
I'm listening intently. The unfortunate that Evans has seemed to have provided exceptional service despite management legal issues. But with hearing from the city and the city's perspective, I think we need to take that into consideration, that the city, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but the city is essentially asking us maybe to take these extraneous circumstances into consideration as we look at these bids. So with the city saying, in essence, like whether they can say this or not, we don't want to pursue another contact with Evans. I think that pushes us in the other direction towards Davy.
So do we want to go ahead and vote? Everybody ready? Okay, so all in favor of selecting Davy Tree for the phase 2 RFP, the Dixie Highway tree removal and replacement project? Aye.
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 Okay, with 4 of us, we do have a quorum, so we are able to move forward with that. So we will start to get that over to Jenny so that we can let them know that they've been awarded. Or no, do we need to, how do we present to the mayor?
So last time, I think, Greg, we had just a brief, discussion at the council meeting saying this is what the tree board is recommending, is to go with this company and for this amount.
And I think that was mainly because we were
Because of
going
the
with
age.
Evans.
Yeah, I was trying to think if that's why we did it. But even if we had to do it again, the council's next meeting is on May 4th. So that's in 2 weeks, in about 2 weeks. So if we need to do that, we can. But I'll check with our attorney to see what the appropriate next step might be.
Okay, so can we leave this with you until we hear either
Yes.
further instruction or whatnot?
Yes, absolutely.
And you guys will contact Davey or Jenny will
Jenny,
contact them?
yeah.
Okay, Okay, great. Okay, great. So now we got second phase figured out. That's awesome. More trees. All right, let's see. Get that agenda back up. All right. I have nothing else unless anybody else does. Nobody? Nobody? Any takers? Okay, I think that's it. Adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second.
All right, thanks, guys.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, guys.